Stas 23 here. In today's knife therapy, we have the Civivi Knives Sokoke. This is a Ray Laconico design, and it's definitely evident. In my opinion, he has a very distinct design language. This knife right here in this configuration with the brown linen micarta comes in at $65.50. And they also have 3 other variations. You can get it with a black G10 for $63. That's the cheapest. And you can also get it with a black wash blade and green burlap micarta for the same $65.50. Or you can get it with a black washed Damascus and black linen for $93. I have to say, aesthetically, this one really spoke to me. Not to mention, I love Ray Laconico's designs. So I was super excited whenever they showed the pictures of this. It kind of reminds me of the We Spirit, another Ray Laconico design. And that's a good thing. I love this knife. But let's get the specs out of the way so you have an idea of the size of the knife. You have a total length of 7.62 inches, so it's a medium to full size knife, depending on how you like them. You have blade length of 3.35 inches. You have a grip area from here to the back right here of 3.9 inches. Handle scale thickness coming in at 0.51. And the close width in the pocket, the 2 widest points, is 1.34 inches. Blade stock thickness coming in at 0.12. And the thickness behind the edge on my particular knife is around 17 thousandths, sharpened at 20 degrees per side. Let's take a close look at this. I love this nice drop point blade we have. Nice top swedge. Goes down to that tip, giving you a nice fine point for piercing, but it's not a dainty point. You still have a good bit of meat there, being it's a drop point. Unfortunately, it has a bead blast finish. It looks decent, but not the biggest fan of bead blast. The blade steel on this is 14C 28N Sandvik steel, which is an excellent budget steel. You can get it ridiculously sharp, and it holds a decent edge, and it's tough as well. And it has really good corrosion resistance, so I'm not as worried about this rusting with the bead blast, but it would have been nice to have a regular stone wash finish on there. You do have dual thumb studs. We'll talk about those later. You do have a small sharpening tool that does clear the plunge. However, you're not going to have maybe one sharpening before it starts to widen up. And the only problem with that is it's not one you can easily fix, because that's where that stop pin sits. So you'd have to be very careful. If you wanted to do anything, you'd have to kind of maybe bring it forward some and, match that angle right there. That way you wouldn't, mess it up in the closed position, making it too deep. You have a high flat grind, pretty much almost a full flat. You can see you have just a little bit of flat right here, and you have that swedge, so pretty much a full flat. Comes down to a reasonably thin edge. Let's see how well this bad boy performs. The knife came to me pretty sharp. It was sharp to cutting stuff. It didn't feel like it had a ton of bite to it. Something we'll have to see later on. But right away, I could tell that handle is going to be very, very comfortable. It's definitely a well done on the contouring. Something that Ray Laconico's known for is just those simple organic curves. And he definitely nailed it on this one. Now we'll put those ergos to the test with this Pine 2x4. First, just starting out, seeing how it does with the finer curls, and it could easily make those. I'm able to get right up on that edge because of the way the handle's set up. And in that hammer grip, it was such a powerful cut going down. I was able to put a lot of pressure behind it, and it felt so good. No hot spots to speak of. I didn't feel anything that, was jabbing me or anything. It was excellent. But I did notice that it wasn't biting. It was kind of wanting to slide a little bit, and that's usually the case if the doesn't have enough bite to it. So once we go to the sisal rope, it was cutting well. Like I said, it is sharp. It just doesn't have that aggression. And anybody who sharpened a knife before or knows what they're doing, knows what I'm talking about when I mean aggression in the front. Because it wasn't grabbing it. I was having to push down a good bit harder, but still doing the job. I think we end up going through making 45 cuts, and it still felt pretty darn good. But one thing I will say, if you do know how to sharpen, after you put your own edge on it, the edge retention, especially on Civivis, jumps up exponentially. I love doing these tests after I've done sharpened it, because it just does so well. This beautiful drop point's gonna work great doing those drag cuts like that. I was, just gliding that tip through it, nice and slicey. Comfortable, really comfortable in that pinch grip right here. Of course I do have gloves on, but it was comfortable. Took the glove off to see how it felt, and it still felt really good. It didn't struggle through any of this really. I did notice that the bead blast on that last piece of tubing did kind of create a little bit of drag, not much, but that drop point is excellent on this flat cutting surface. The belly's not too steep, and it's just performing really nicely. And would it perform with a more bite to it better? Yeah, I find, it usually does. But some of this stuff doesn't require a whole lot of bite. But here, this is where I noticed it again. Now, this is a lot thicker denim. This has got a lot of seams in it. It's got some leather in it, a bunch of stuff because of the pockets and stuff like that. And it was kind of struggling. All right, after all that cutting, let's see how the edge is looking. Yeah, I figured that it felt like it was kind of falling off toward the end of the denim. And it's not terrible. I find, that's still got a good working edge to it. It does have a few hang-ups, as you can see there. Now, let's close it up and take a look at the deployment and action on this knife. So you have thumb stud deployer and a front flipper. Thumb studs are good. Nice access, nice and snappy, nice and smooth action on bearings with a ceramic detent ball, ceramic bearings as well. The front flipper does have jimping, and I would have rathered fine cut jimping. However, the way it sits above those scales, all you do is basically just pull it back, and it's not the hardest one to front flip. And being it's a liner lock, you can do the reach around as well. Very nice action. You could also do it left-handed very easily. And I can't ever front flip it left-handed, but you could do it both. Easy access to that lock bar. Very nice action for Civivi. Let's take a look at the scales. I was super excited to see this is American style linen micarta right here, and I think it looks great. I hope they continue to use this type of micarta. I'm a fan of this kind. You have the regular Civivi branded pivot there that's pretty much countersunk. Nice and contoured scales on this one. And as you can see in my video, I raved about it because it was super comfortable in hand. You have Torx T8 on the body screws, lanyard hole for all you lanyard people. It is a tip up left or right handed deep carry, and they countersunk the pocket clip and the screws, unlike some of their previous models. Love that they did that. Now the screws are T6. That's the only T6 on the knife. Now let's check it out in the pocket real quick. The clip has a good bit of ramp right there. And I found it went in and out of the pocket nicely. And it pretty much buries in the pocket. Nothing sticking out. And pretty easy to pull out as well. Your back spacer is the same color. Linen micarta. Goes about a little more than halfway up the knife and wraps around right there. It's flush, and they have like a little chamfer going there. It looks nice, nicely done. You have inset stainless steel liners in there that have been heavily skeletonized to save on weight. Let's check it out on the scale. Coming in at 3.5 ounces. Perfect for me. All right, now let's take a look at the lockup. Mine's sitting at around, I'd say 50, 60%. No up and down whatsoever. No side to side. Very tight lockup. Access to that lock bar is good because you have this cutout right here. Plus you have this chamfer on the inside of the micarta. And you do have some texture right there. So I found it pretty darn easy to disengage. Especially, I like just to use that ball of my finger right there to push it over. No problem whatsoever. Right now for some quick size comparisons, we have the Syncut Watuga and the Kaiser Doman. The Watuga is a little bit longer, but you have more cutting edge on this one. And the Kaiser is almost identical in overall length. Next up, we have the Ontario Rat Model 1 and 2. It's in the middle of those two, close to the same cutting edge as the Rat 1. Lastly, we have the Best Tech Man Ronin and the Wii Spirit. It's in the middle of those two. The Ronin's a hair longer, but you have about the same cutting edge as the Ronin. And the Spirit is just a little bit shorter, about the same grip area though. All right, now for my nitpicks and complaints. Talked about most of them. I would have much rather see, instead of this bead blast, a regular plain stonewash finish. They do a great job on it, kind of like the Civivi Chevalier. The next thing is I would have much rather see like more fine cut jimping. I just find it works a lot better. It grips the finger nicer, especially on the front flippers. However, this front flipper still works excellent. Next thing, what do y'all think? I think it would have looked nicer to have a filler tab here, but I do like that, you know, they did make it left or right hand to carry, but you know, those edges can get a little sharp, but it's not something I felt in the hand at all, at least. And lastly, definitely would have liked to see this opened up a little bit more, giving me some sharpening life. And it would have been even nicer if they would have had an internal stop pin, so I wouldn't have to worry about, you know, if I want to open it up myself after sharpening, I could, but that is something I'm going to have to figure out later down the road. So my overall thoughts and opinions. I absolutely love the knife. Those things were just nitpicks, not hurting the functionality of the knife whatsoever. I love the aesthetics of it. It was so comfortable in hand, and I already know that after I put my own edge on this, it's going to perform outstanding. I really resonate with Laconico's designs. I think they're very attractive. I love the Wii Spirit, and if you have this Spirit and you like the ergos of this one's even more comfortable because you got more thickness in the hand to fill out your hand better. Just overall excellent, and not to mention, they were able to keep it at a good price. $65.50 is not bad. That's why I would much rather them start to use more 14C than Nitro V, because if this was a Nitro V, they would have charged probably 80 bucks for it. So I would definitely love to see them just stick with 14C and keep it in those 65 and under price range would be great. So I'd love to hear y'all thoughts on it. This is my new favorite Civivi, especially of 2023 and maybe of all time. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day, and I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.